Let's go!
What's up, dudes? Max here. Before we jump into this, I wanted to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Square Enix and War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. This game is a free-to-play tactical RPG set in the Final Fantasy series, and it's celebrating its second anniversary since launch. It's also available on Google Play, the App Store, and the Amazon App Store. And starting until March 23rd and going until April 26th, there is a big Final Fantasy VI collaboration event where you can receive Locke as a character for free. With an ever-increasing roster, you can add more Final Fantasy characters with amazing things like limit bursts and familiar espers that you might remember from previous Final Fantasy games in the series, and they're all accompanied by absolutely beautiful CG animation. Again, War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is a tactical RPG available right now on the App Store, Google Play, and Amazon App Store. And if you want to get a piece of the action, this is clearly one of the best times for players to jump in, especially with these classic collaborations. You can go ahead and check out my link in the channel description below to try out the game yourself. The thing that I really wanted to talk about before we jump into tonight's game, because I've been thinking about this all day, and I even retweeted the conversation. And there's been this thing that I've been thinking about a lot when playing Elden Ring, and it's actually one of the reasons why I love it so much. Why this game is having such a profound impact that it has in comparison to a lot of open world games, much less games in general. And why it is the way it is. And it all boils down to a tweet that popped up earlier today. I think that's under my retweets. Hold on a second. In this tweet, there was an apparent discovery, right, that Iron Pineapple posted. There are some fake walls in Elden Ring that take actual multiple hits to reveal, and this changes everything. And yes, the example is one place up in the Volcano Manor. If you smack a wall approximately 50 times, it seems to have like an actual health pool, the wall disappears. So at that point, I can understand why a lot of people at that point must be like insanely frustrated. At that point, a very large amount of people, and even I was like making a joke where it's just like, no, 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 hell no. Like, and it is funny to sort of meme about it, right? Because as someone that's playing through the game, I do want to try to discover as much as possible, but I've come to the understanding that I'm just not, right? Even with like having a chat room around and having the chat obviously spoil a lot of stuff that's around the corner, and me receiving a lot of things that I never would have gotten before, that's just never gonna happen. But there's so much more. I still can't tell you how crazy it is of playing Elden Ring, and every single other person I see playing the game is playing the game with different equipment, different armor, and different items than I am, and they've only been playing it way fewer hours than I have. So I'm like, where the hell did you get that? I explored that castle thoroughly. It was like I was at like a TSA booth, and that castle was the anal cavity of a poor person boarding an airplane. It was thoroughly checked, and I still missed an absolute shit ton of stuff. Like, blown away by how much stuff you could actually just not see. And I think that's kind of amazing, right? I think it's kind of amazing how much stuff is put into Elden Ring that you will not find. That things will specifically be insanely difficult to locate, even to the point where they are very intricate levels and dungeons and enemies and weapons and gear and bosses that are super intricate, crazy unique, but they're stuck behind a wall or something that almost gives you no inclination that it's there. And they're just gonna stick it in this weird ass area behind all this stuff that even if you are observing a lot and trying to do stuff, you might not actually come across it because you just didn't go left or something like that. I can't tell you how many times I've done this where I have to revisit an area because like, oh God, that's right. When I was going through here, I just didn't go that way. That's kind of crazy and bold and amazing because in so many of these games, it's like, oh, we have all this budget for this huge, crazy area that we're going to put all this effort into with new enemies, new bosses, and all this crazy stuff, and it looks amazing. And there's a good chance our players will never see it. There's a really good chance that a lot of our player base will just never come across it. And I'm here to tell you that's amazing. I'm here to tell you that that is not something that should be feared or freaked out. And a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that situation. That, oh God, like I'm gonna play through the game and I'm gonna miss so much stuff. Like that's so difficult to process for some people because if anything, I have learned that a lot of people are really uncomfortable with not knowing things. You know, they're really uncomfortable with being in the dark regarding some stuff. And I don't think they're afraid of the learning process, but just being freaked out by not knowing things. They can't be comfortable just not knowing things sometimes. So they have to know where everything is, right? What is it? Missing out syndrome or something like that? The whole, like, the fear, not the fear of the unknown, but just the fear of missing out. That is very common, right? That is absolutely a thing that a lot of games try to give the player a bunch of references and influences and directions where to go, and like all this information quest-wise in other games that will allow you to do that, right? And I'm here to tell you that I understand the feeling, but I think Elden Ring is amazing because it throws the fear of missing out the goddamn window. It was the same feeling I had with Bloodborne. Where I went through Bloodborne the first time, I had kind of a fear that I was missing out on a whole bunch of stuff. And by the time I came back a second time, and this is when I truly fell in love with the game, I found all the stuff that I missed. And the feeling of discovering all this stuff that was like literally right under my feet sometimes, and finding out that I had missed all of this stuff is an incredible feeling. Some people will get thrown off by it, but I think the trade-off is absolutely worth it because the word of mouth is working, right? Everybody that's playing this game is playing it in a different way, completely with different tools and items, and approaching it in a huge variety of ways, which is truly fantastic. It's cool to see what somebody is going through and their struggles when it's completely different to yours. It's like all of the crazy mechanics that they're throwing in are building up towards this sort of emergent gameplay where, like, since you have so much approachability to the game and how you want to play it, everybody's doing things way different, and people might just have no idea about what's going on. I don't really have the fear of missing out. Like, there's some times where there's a quest line and this character can literally be anywhere. And it's rough to not like just ask like, okay, where's the character, to at least get like a hint of where the character is going next. But at the same time, it's like, I'm aware that there's this thing of where they go. This world is so big and vast. I just have no idea where to approach it. But the idea that we're playing a game in 2022 that essentially emulates a similar feeling that people experienced when they first fired up The Legend of Zelda, right? The Legend of Zelda NES, where there was a specific restricted amount of information as far as how to approach the game. That's kind of what's going on right now. Like, a lot of people just don't know, and the game does not give a lot of information about what to do or where to go in some of these situations, much less secret dungeons or NPCs and how the story is unfolding and all that kind of stuff, which is just Soulsness, right? But in this game, it's amplified 10 to 20 times, right? Just 10 to 20 times amplification of that element because it is so big. There's just so much stuff that is undiscovered and people just don't know and stuff like that. Even with the crazy information age that we live in right now, right? There's 12 million people reportedly. There's probably way more that have actually bought the game even beyond that, and people are still discovering stuff that had not been discovered in like the first month, or as we're in the first month, which is crazy, right? That is way too many players playing so much of the game, and the fact that we are still at this point and people are figuring stuff out and discovering things and sharing that, and people just can't handle it. To me, I feel like it's a situation that's kind of amazing. I think this game is truly special because of that they're emboldened enough to put all this stuff into the game and give it and have an inkling of a chance that people will just have no idea that it exists. I love that. I actually personally love not knowing, because the element of discovery when it comes to these games is absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the things that makes Elden Ring arguably one of the best games I maybe have ever played. And I would say that it's going to be hard to top stuff like this. It's really going to be difficult to top a lot of the elements that have come across the first playthrough of Elden Ring. And I was even saying it when we first started the playthrough, because I'm not done yet, right? I have actually not finished my playthrough yet, so I can't even give a final answer. The ending of the game could be absolute 6 butt cheeks in a row. And it has a boss name below, and it could severely compromise the quality of the game by the end. So I can't even tell you what my final feelings of the game actually are, but so far it's left such a crazy impression on me and almost everybody else that I see playing it that it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's the element of not knowing and the fear of missing out is a big part where people are kind of uncomfortable with the fact that there's just too much in this game. There's too much, and it's all of relatively high quality for the most part. So yeah, I feel in some situations that, yeah, I don't want to miss out either, but just the discovery process is beyond absolutely beyond. All I'm going to say is, even though there's some crazy wall stuff and interesting things in the game's changing as a result of new patches and stuff like that, I truly appreciate a game that goes back, right, to somebody that enjoys the arcade days of learning how to figure stuff out, of like sharing information. I think the other funny thing is that Souls games in general, from the very first birth of Souls games, which is Demon's Souls, the game was designed to be super hard, right? Obviously super hard, but it was designed to be played online. And the online component was the idea that you're gonna have other players help you out technically by leaving messages and, if not, co-oping throughout the journey. The idea is that the game was not inherently designed in its document to be played solo, and that is the only way you can play the game. You can, but technically the game was designed for player assistance through and through. What I'm trying to say is that the Souls series was the first Strand-like game, and that continues to every single one. Every single one has these huge like online components where people like help each other out throughout the experience. And people also troll throughout the entirety of it as well, with fake messages and things like that. So I love it. I love it. I can't even, I see this door, this fake ass door that might be a glitch or might not be a glitch. And then you knock it down and then it reveals not like a crazy new area. It's just like a shortcut, but just the fact that stuff like that is places in the game is so sick. It's so cool to be like, I feel like I discovered everything. And then you come back and you find out you didn't, and this thing was here the whole time. I think that's an incredible feeling that not a lot of games give you nowadays. And the closest thing before have been Souls experiences, obviously. And now Elden Ring amplifies that 10 to 15 times. I think it's funny that a lot of people have this fear of missing out, but it's something that I have absolutely missed in games in general.